Hey everyone, welcome back to another Suzero Success Story. Today I'm joined by a hugely energetic entrepreneur who I've had the pleasure of being friends with for a long time. He's the founder and CEO of YourTown, which aims to connect people to each other and to the places they live. YourTown is now successfully active in 6 towns across Hertfordshire with a series of spin-offs including primary school projects, running and walking communities, and many more cool things. YourTown is backed by some huge brands such as Red Bull and Ocado. Welcome to Suzero Success Stories, Mark White. Whoop, whoop.
Thank you.
A live audience, mate. I know you're used to bigger appearances than this, but
No, mate, this is great. I've been used to this over the last few weeks. So,
well, aren't we all? How are you finding lockdown? How are you surviving with it? Because you have younger daughters as well. So how are you hanging on in there at home?
um, reasonably well actually. I've just responded to a friend of mine on Messenger who's asked how my girls were, and
Yeah,
I'm really proud of them. I mean, they're older now.
yeah.
They're teenagers, like 13 and nearly 15. So they're at that age where
Yeah.
largely keep themselves to themselves. They're not running around the place being completely reliant on us. I remember
Yeah.
them days well. Um, so yeah, we're doing okay. You know, they miss their family, obviously,
Yeah, of course.
and that kind of connection that they're
Mm,
getting online, but it's not the same as we
yeah,
probably identify with. But yeah, on the whole, we're all fit, healthy, keeping active, keeping busy.
good.
So yeah, all okay, Tom.
And what has it meant? Actually, let's dive into your town straight away. So, talk me through. Like you can read all the stuff online, and obviously it's on your website. You know how you came up with the idea in 2011, if I'm not mistaken.
Initially, 2011, there was a bit of a gap, which we
Yeah.
won't go into, and then 2014 it kicked off like properly.
Okay. Yeah. Let's talk about that gap. Why the gap there? Was that like conceptualizing it? Was it putting it into practice? What was that process?
No, it's a little bit more deeper than that, mate. If
Okay.
I'm honest, so 2011, as I alluded to, was the year. I think it's the summer of that year that I initially emailed myself the name. Give your town a run around.
Yeah.
I just recently got into running. I was giving up cigarettes, and
Yeah.
running just seemed to unearth this creativity inside of me.
Cool.
Um, my attention wasn't too much on community initiatives or
Mm,
my local town in
mm,
in the depths that it's obviously gone to since, but it was there and thereabouts in regards to what
yeah.
this event was, and then fast forward literally a few weeks after that initial email, I got quite ill. I got pneumonia and pleurisy,
Oh wow.
which had a massive impact on my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've always been self-employed. There's kind of what I was up to in life at that time.
Yeah.
Um, there was no certainty. I was obviously in hospital and I was recovering, so for a good few
Yeah.
months. So anyway, cut a long story short, there was that gap between
Mm,
2011. I had to rebuild myself um, mentally because
yeah.
it got quite dark for a period of time, and obviously I had to be
Yeah.
responsible as you've mentioned, I've got daughters and responsibilities and things of that nature. So
Yeah.
it isn't all romance. And as much as I believed
Yeah.
in the idea, it wasn't the right time. The stars weren't aligning. And then
Mm,
2014, the moment come where I could ignite the flame.
good.
And yeah, we haven't looked back since. So
Yeah.
that's the
And so
story around the gap.
did you find that, so, between when you were going through that stuff, you said you emailed yourself the name Your Town, did you kind of hold on to that? And were you like, you know what, I can do this? Was it a focus there, or was it more, let's just put that on the shelf? Like going through that period, and you talk about, that dark period, especially,
Hmm.
what were you kind of thinking about it then, or were you not thinking about it at all?
No, I mean, I can't, on reflection, I can't really answer that question with any certainty, really.
Right.
I mean, one thing is for sure, it wasn't your town at the beginning. It was give
Okay.
your town a run around,
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
which was the running thing. Your town was born
Yeah.
after the successes that had in a very
Yeah.
short period of time. But no, I suppose, my main focus during that time was, yeah, just kind of, paying the mortgage. And like I said, I was always self-employed. So when the illness did come,
Mm,
it had a huge impact on my day to day because I couldn't
yeah.
work, etc. So I had to kind of get myself in front best way I
Yeah.
could. So that was, ultimately where my focus was. Although there was this desire in me, I always knew
Mm.
I say new, not for sure, but I had a good idea that the job that I was doing wasn't what I was born to do. You know, I did
Yeah.
have this passion inside of me that wanted
Yeah.
to do more, and kind of I was curious to see creatively what I was capable of.
Yeah.
And these ideas were just Give Your Town a Runaround was just one of a couple that
Yeah.
I had kind of real belief in.
Right.
And as you know, as I tend to do in life, I just trust the the journey, you know.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned, this one morning in 2014, I wasn't
Yeah.
expecting Give Your Town a Runaround to be brought up at all, but I was inspired to talk about it in some capacity, and it just led me on to
Yeah.
where we are now.
So that was that moment for you then in 2014. What you were asked to speak about it, or you're at an event, or how did that come about? Was it just like boom, now's the time, or what ignited that?
So I just started up my own business in my
Mm.
old industry, which
Yeah.
was managed print. So
Uh-huh.
not as exciting, but something that I enjoyed over the years, and I kind of
Yeah.
fell into and never looked back type of scenario. Albeit, as I've alluded to, it wasn't something I was completely and utterly
Yeah.
inspired by. But anyway, I started up my own firm in 2014 with
Hmm.
my sole intention of not building it to be some big corporate
Yeah.
body, but just so potentially there could be an avenue where every couple of quarters there might be a bit of money there that I can
Yeah.
invest in my own ideas.
Okay.
So through that, started up my own firm. I got introduced by a friend to a local company here in my hometown of Hoddesdon.
Yeah.
He invited me to this Hearts Chamber of Commerce event that was
Yeah.
going, and it was the launch of the economic development strategy for the borough of Broxbourne, where I live.
Okay.
So I went there, trying to network and to shift a few photocopiers and printers, really. But
Yeah.
because of the conversation they were having that morning, they were talking about town centre vibrancy, community engagement,
Yeah.
inactivity, save the high street, things of that nature, and also entrepreneurship and kind of championing local ideas and kind of
Mm.
still the MP Charles Walker. Um,
Yeah.
he was very passionate about exploring what goes on in the garages of Broxbourne, because all he hears
Yeah.
is like the best ideas kind of coming from front
Yeah.
rooms and garages, etc. So obviously I knew I'd give your town a run around in between my ears,
Mm.
loosely at that stage. I approached a couple of people afterwards and said, listen, based on what I've heard this morning, I believe
Yeah.
I've got something that could bring value to the conversation. If you're willing to listen, I'll talk,
Yeah.
and we'll see where we go. Then
Nice.
people who were Broxbourne Borough Council in the midst of it, and
Mm.
also, which is pretty much stars aligning, there was a lady in the background lurking,
Right.
and she'd overheard some of what we were talking about,
Yeah.
and she was like, "Listen, Mark, I don't know you, just met. Here's my card." I
Okay.
didn't look at the card at that point, but she went, if you get anywhere with this idea that I've heard about, we'd be
Yeah.
really interested to support it in some way. We're a local company to Hoddesdon, and we want to get involved more with the local
Mm.
community. So if we can, we will. Let me know.
Mm.
And then I looked at the card, realised they're a pretty big player globally, not just locally.
Love that.
So that was a bit of reassurance to think, okay,
Yeah.
if this was to go anywhere, maybe I could have somebody back us financially
Yeah.
to kind of get the fundamentals in place. And so that was that.
That's amazing, isn't it? That's funny how those things just fall into place and you're almost pushed in that way to
Yeah,
do it. And
yeah.
so you talk about the original concept. The original concept was what? To just get people out into their towns, right? And to get was there an emphasis on the running and the exercise stuff then, or was it was it more just a community based and practice that kind of thing?
Yeah, we've said, so something I've been very aware of from the offset, that it's more than a run. The runs are
Yeah.
relevant. I don't mean that literally. That
Yeah.
was the that was the opportunity of gathering people, in
Yeah.
one place at one time. And yes, we centered it around, activity and the run. I'd got into running, as I mentioned a few years prior, after
Yeah.
giving up cigarettes. I'd grown to love it. It was absolutely unbelievable. It brought a lot of value to my life,
Mm.
physically and mentally, and lots of different ways. So, part of my intention through the event was, if that was an offer to other people, then I'd love to give them that experience that they
Yeah.
could potentially have, and it could be a game changer for them in some capacity. But it was always about supporting local, local people, local
Yeah.
places, local things. I really wanted to make something really tangible and relatable in regards
Yeah.
to kind of the content that we created around the run. So if you see one of our posters, it's really important to me that we use local people and local points of interest in there. So when people walk past it, they might recognise the person at the place and think,
That's
"What's
cool.
this?"
Yeah.
Because the more I was getting into it, the more I was realising that community-based initiatives,
Mm.
and I don't mean to belittle anything or anyone at all, far from it. You know me well enough to know I don't come from that place. But it wasn't
Yeah.
that inspiring. It's very much kind of people looked to cities for
Mm.
the energy and the
Yeah.
glitz and the glamour and the kind of all the brands, all the Nikes and the Adidases. When I'm talking about run related or kind of
Yeah. Of
fitness
course.
based things, that's where the audience was. That's kind of that's where
Yeah.
run this city and that and that and that. So which was great, And listen, I was influenced by that stuff from a
Yeah.
brand point of view. So I just thought, okay, if we could create something locally that energised the local community,
Yeah.
that they could relate to, maybe we could do something. And the model was it was 100% about Hoddesdon, my hometown. So who we
Yeah.
supported, who we showcased, who supported us, i.e. sponsors, they were
Yeah.
all from Hoddesdon. So it was hyper local, and that was the
Right.
conversation was very much centred around Hoddesdon. So that was April 2014.
Yeah.
I had that chance meeting. I had no logo. I had no experience in events. I had no
Yeah.
brand experience.
Love that.
I had no network of family. I mean, I mentioned this lady lurking around, suggesting she could support in some way, but
Yeah.
I didn't know. Kind of, my uncle Bob didn't work for the local company and
Mm.
give us a few quid. It's very much as you can relate to, hands on
Yeah.
deck, one foot in front of the other, knocking
Yeah.
down doors, sharing about what potentially could come, and do you want to get involved? And very, very quickly, a lot of people jumped on board and showed a lot of blind faith at that time because it was just mad
Nice.
as me, just like who is
Yeah.
this guy? We never heard of him before.
Yeah.
He's as you've kind of kindly suggested. He's got a bit of energy about him, and he wants to
Yeah.
make things happen.
Yeah.
And and that was it. So September we had our first event. So within a few months.
Yeah. And how did that first event go? You say, so you put in the legwork, tried to get people down. How was it? Because I've spoken to other people throughout this series, and they've had events where they've put things on and no one has turned up on the first
Hmm.
one, and it's soul destroying. You're there standing
Yeah,
there with all your equipment, all your energy, and it just saps you.
that's
No
when you
one's
know if
there.
you want it.
There's nothing. Yeah, exactly. And you're like,
Hmm.
what happened? So was that the case with you, or was it no, like good numbers and it just grew from there?
It was good enough numbers. We had just over
Okay.
300. So,
300.
just over 300. Yeah, yeah. So I was chuffed.
Probably better than good enough numbers, isn't
Yeah,
it?
no, well, it's a perception thing to some. That's nothing at all
Yeah.
worth getting out of bed for. We'll probably venture into that way of thinking with YourTown as
Yeah.
we progress into the YourTown story. But yeah, I didn't know what to expect. As
Wow.
mentioned, I had no previous experience. I had no expectation.
Yeah.
There was nothing locally going on.
Right.
We have been the spark for a lot more since,
Mm.
which has been reassuring. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, at that time, listen, I was the kind of kid when I was younger that didn't have a party in case no one turned up, So there was
Yeah.
that self doubt along the way to think, oh, as you mentioned, what if no one turns out and this and the
Yeah.
other. But we had a hunch, only
Yeah.
based on what was leading up to that event. We were
Yeah.
really putting ourselves out there. I was coming up with ideas around commercials, and
Yeah.
then they weren't being done for things
Mm.
of this nature. And when I mean commercials, I mean video cameras and bits and pieces, all
Yeah.
mates helping out and supporting. Like we had no budget to go mad on these kind of things,
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
just loose ideas that I had. I used to drive my wife mad. I used to come back from my evening runs and say, "Oh, we could do this, or we could do that, or what would that look like, or could this
Yeah.
happen?" And within 48 hours, my wife would be like, "Oh, you did that then,"
He's done
and
that. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's good. So the numbers were great.
Yeah.
It was a great morning. The weather shone. Um, we captured it on film, so there was a lasting effect there. So all of a sudden, these
yeah,
ideas were tangible. People were like,
yeah,
okay, we like what they're trying to do. We love how they're doing it. And then
yeah,
the attention was growing around us because people
yeah.
were intrigued by who we were while we were doing what we were doing, and the
Hmm.
potential of it. And so, yeah, it was a busy few months leading up.
And it's gone, yeah. And I mean, obviously, I've watched it kind of grow through the process. And I want to go back though, just to see, you didn't know that anyone was going to, turn up there. Why did you do it? And I think there's always this like leap of faith, and you just kind of go into it, and you say, you just blindly, just faith, just go. What was it for you that you were just like, no, we're going to do it? Because there are going to be so many people, and I know there are going to be people watching this who, have amazing ideas and are put off by that. Or what if it doesn't work? This and that kind of thing. What was your push? Was it external? Someone pushed it, or were you like, well, what have I got to lose? I might as well go for it.
Of course, big question.
That's a big question, I
Big
know.
question. And there's so many variables to that.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, obviously, you can reflect.
Mm.
Uh, Obviously, it's not a guess. I know how I felt.
Yeah.
But when you're in that period of time,
Mm.
you need lots of different behaviors, lots
Yeah.
of different thoughts and feelings that some can relate to, some
Yeah.
can't.
Yeah.
There's a period of time that I'm still kind of go through, depending on where we're at, about being misunderstood.
Yeah.
Um, and and what I mean by that is it's okay having the idea,
Yeah.
and for some it's a running event,
Yeah.
which is amazing, which is great, and people sign up because they enjoy running and they wanted a running event experience, and it was very
Yeah.
different locally. We closed down roads and
Yeah.
things like that, so it was a proper good thing.
Yeah.
But we've always suggested we're more than a run, and for
Yeah.
that we needed time for the messaging for that to be clear. So
Mm.
what do they mean by that? We're more than a run. We're about supporting local, etc., etc.
Yeah.
So the process of that has kind of driven me, because
Mm.
the more I was getting involved in this space, for want of a better word, or this conversation, the more
Mm.
responsibility that I felt to
Mm.
take part, and to kind of,
Right.
we saw a lot of what I sensed, a lot of short-term thinking from a
Yeah.
lot of people. So some, because that's the way it is, and that's their mindset, and they have to
Yeah.
be like that. There might be a grant over here or a grant over there, and it needs to be
Yeah.
spent by this time, and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, okay, how many people can we get involved for this amount of time, and what's
Yeah.
the outcome? And for it to be of anything of ever, in my opinion, any substance or longevity, or
Mm.
things that really matter and have deep meaning, you need to be consistent, and
Yeah.
you need to suggest you're going to do something, and you need to work really, really hard to stick around and make it happen.
Yeah.
And this was just in me, so that's where the passion come. The more I
Yeah.
was educating myself, the more I was reading, the more information I was consuming, the more people I was
Yeah.
talking to, the more places I was being invited to,
Mm.
from local authority to Westminster to large corporates to small businesses to individuals. I was
Yeah.
a father, and my kids were going to school locally,
Yeah.
and so I had that viewpoint as well.
Mm.
And I heard a lot of complaining. Um, Again, when I say these words like complaining, I'm not belittling anybody or judging anybody, far
Yeah.
from it.
Yeah. No, I hear
But
you.
I was just feel like, okay, what can we do? What have we got? And
Yeah.
what part can we play? No matter how small. So a lot, as you can probably hear from me talking, there was that passion inside of me
Big
just to kind of
passion.
carry on, and it needed to be that way,
Yeah. Mm.
because the flip side is probably something well, I know you can, because we've had some chats in the past relating to this, is the
Yeah.
well-being side of things. I need to be
Yeah.
responsible.
Mm.
Um, I have got responsibilities. I've got outgoings. It isn't all romance. There are demands in the world. I had no experience, as I've brought up already, around brands and building brands and
Yeah. Yeah.
building events, except project management,
Yeah.
completely new to me. So there
Yeah.
was that air of being a bit deluded, and
Okay.
um, and things like that, just to keep me going, really. So
Yeah.
yeah, I wasn't 19, 20. I wasn't single. I wasn't kind
Yeah.
of had mortgages. So the
Yeah.
risk, where it could, I mean, there's still risks attached to that, and
Mm.
but yeah, the risks just felt more because of my reality.
I'm with you.
It isn't
Yeah.
always about me. So
Yeah.
as much as it was having a massive impact in the local
Yeah.
community, if my girls were unhappy and if my wife was, unhappy, then
Mm.
yeah, I'd have to make a choice potentially,
Yeah.
albeit my wife would never put me in a position where they had to choose. But
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I understand. No, well, I mean, look, I mean that decision, it sounds like is not going to be on the cards because it has just continued to grow and be an absolute success, hasn't it? So, I mean, the obvious question, because I assume we're kind of coming into a real prime time now where you would be having a lot of meetups, a lot of runs.
Hmm.
How have you adapted with the lockdown and the global pandemic? How have you made changes to that? I mean, you think of communities now, and I mean, talking on the topic of well-being and mental health, you see in the news every day that there are people struggling in this isolation, and I mean, we've done a lot on social media about people just reaching out to other people and just checking they're okay, dropping people a text, those kind of things. So, how do you continue to keep that community element? During a pandemic like this, or are you waiting for we can come out of it and then you build from there?
A little bit of both, really.
Yeah.
As with most things, there's always a bit of a split in your
Mm.
approach. So, your town was born by a Give Your Town a Runaround. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Give Your Town a Runaround, without, it's pretty blatant. It's got running in the title,
Yeah.
and the more I was getting involved in this, and the curiosity and the creativity was building in between the
Yeah.
years, that's where your town was born.
Yeah.
So it gave us a bit more scope to kind of expand. It wasn't just run related. We could do a
Yeah.
lot more, and things happened over the last few years under the Your Town umbrella, which has been incredible. So the answer to your question is, circumstances and situations we find ourselves in today,
Mm.
which is, took everyone by surprise to a certain
Mm.
degree. I'm no strategist. One of my little shortcomings, I suppose. But no one knew this was on its way.
Oh
So
yeah, how do you plan? Yeah.
exactly. So as you've kind of brought up, all the plans
Yeah.
we did have been postponed because all
All
the
right.
work that we do is offline. And
Right.
maybe what's the split, give or take, 90% offline, 10% online. And the
Okay.
10% online, all that content is created from our offline activity. So,
Right.
you know, so there's one of them ones where we've adapted. We've got other sub communities now under the Your
Yeah.
Town umbrella. Like we've got Your Town Runners, Your Town Walkers. We've got you brought up in the introduction. We've got a primary school project that is kind
Yeah.
of alive and kicking in Hertfordshire in particular, and that's growing across the UK. And we're
Yeah.
doing that with Ocado. So there are opportunities for us to support, online. Um,
Mm.
but we solely believe on offline.
Yeah.
That's what we're all about. That offline connection, connecting
Yeah.
to others and our
Yeah.
surroundings. And where your town has got a generic nature around it, we're also
Mm.
very hyper local. And it's not
Yeah.
for us. And this kind of was born throughout the process of thinking about what your town was and what it could be.
Mm.
Is
Mm.
we don't assume anything. We can't go
Right.
into any town and suggest that what we've got can bring value and kind of
Yeah. Yeah.
what we've done in Hoddesdon. It's a very
Yeah.
delicate conversation. We ultimately believe that what we do can bring value to
Of
everyone.
course.
We
Yeah.
can't lead on it. That's the difference. So, because
Yeah.
I'm not from where they're from, my team
Yeah.
are not necessarily from where they're from. They need to take it. They need to grow it. They need to nurture it. So,
Yeah.
things that have happened lately that just further instills that within
Yeah.
these communities, which I've always known, this isn't a new conversation for me or your town.
Yeah.
We're not just on this chat now because of what's happening. We were on this chat back in 2014, as a lot of people were. We've
Yeah.
always known, as have a lot of people, known the value of community and
Yeah.
the kind of the beauty of what can happen within a place
Yeah.
if certain people, certain organisations get together, collaborate, connect, make things happen, and have their energy about it. Because it's
Yeah.
all, you know, and it's just about kind of finding it or having certain initiatives or projects or brands or people that, leaders, whatever
Mm.
way you can describe them, that people can gravitate towards that could spark something.
Mm.
And so that's one of the positionings of your town is we want
Yeah.
to enable other places to find that spark if they
Right.
feel like they haven't got it, or
Yeah.
if they feel like they could kind of do a bit better because
Yeah.
the thought processes or the institutions that largely lead on these things or deliver
Mm.
certain things may not be as current because they can't
Okay.
keep up with how life is changing pretty
Yeah.
dramatically. You know, ideal example. I mean, this is
Yeah.
the
Right
other
now. Yeah.
extreme. You know, this is a real extreme,
Yeah.
and lots of people have adapted quite quickly.
Yeah.
So, you know, this is a big conversation, mate. So yeah, we have adapted the best way we can.
Mm.
One thing that I have been working on that no one knows, but I'm going to tell you, um, is making one of our offerings, our
Yeah.
YourTown get-together model, which, as you've brought up in the introduction again,
Yeah.
is largely got a presence in Hertfordshire, different towns in Hertfordshire. I'm going to
Yeah.
make that a free download for anybody, any town in the
Awesome.
UK. We've got all the
Nice.
tools.
Okay.
We've got all the tools. So, what to do, when to do it, how to do it,
Yeah.
everything that they need to do
Yeah.
some of what we do will
Yeah.
be on offer free of charge. So, I'm going to action that. So when we are in the reality of offline connections and we can
Yeah.
gather in towns and we can kind of, you know, not necessarily have to distance ourselves from other people for good reason,
Yeah.
then yeah, you know, have a your town get together and celebrate where you live, you know, and
And
connect.
everyone's able to, yeah, come back in. Yeah. No, well, that's amazing, mate. And I mean, I think watching the growth of it go, and and we say, up to now 6 towns, and putting those resources out. I want to dive into a little bit about the opportunity with Red Bull, because reading up on that, it sounded like you were the first, UK, based person to ever, or UK based initiative to ever be pulled into that project. Talk to me about their involvement, what you can and can't say. How did that come about, and what's going on with that now?
Yeah, it was stars aligning, I suppose. Again, it it come at the right time.
Yeah.
I mean, there's never a wrong time for something like that to happen. You know, it's an
Yeah.
amazing opportunity. Um, it's an amazing experience, and when I say come at the right time, you know, last summer was a tricky time for
Hmm.
your town and myself. You know, throughout the process, as I've alluded to, from a well-being point of view,
Yeah.
you know, just throws up a lot of, you know, what to do, when to do it, how can we do that.
Yeah.
You know, it's a community interest company, so it's not kind of commercially attractive for some of the investment that I need to really
Yeah.
position your town how I visualize it. You know, and that's
Mm.
been a struggle from day one. I say struggle. We're responsible in our approach, and you know, I didn't want the wrong energies around your town. We've had opportunities for people to maybe get involved, but I've always sensed that their intentions weren't true.
Yeah.
So yeah, last summer was a tough time. Albeit we just entered into a really fantastic relationship with Ricardo, and some things were really gathering momentum, etc. But it just
Mm.
demanded a different version of myself, and I needed to adapt as well. So
Right.
when the Red Bull thing come along, there was a process prior to us meeting up in October where I just got invited, along with other social entrepreneurs.
Cool.
Initially, I got invited to submit my interest, and there was over, I think, 600 social entrepreneurs across the UK.
Wow.
And then I got selected as top 15 social entrepreneurs
Wow.
in the UK, just through the work that I do with your town, etc.
Yeah.
For a 10-day experience over in Bradford in the UK. Is their first UK
Nice.
um, uh, program that they delivered.
Mm.
They've been doing it globally for a few years. Red Bull Amapico, which is South African for wings,
Okay.
or
Yeah.
give him wings. So you could see the tie there.
Yeah, I can see. That's
And
cool.
it was
Yeah.
all about empowering the social entrepreneurs to kind of just step out their own way and help
Yeah.
support our projects in some way, whether it be through workshops or
Mm.
seminars. And obviously we were around like-minded people, other
Yeah.
great social entrepreneurs doing some incredible things across the UK, like really
Yeah.
amazing work. So it's good to be around that energy
Of
to get stuff
course.
done.
Of course.
So yeah, I was really grateful, really lucky that relationship is continued, because part of the offering was that there would be that um, afterthought. You know, it wasn't
Mm.
just a box ticking exercise for them where it was like, okay, that was a great 10 days. Now
Yeah.
crack on and with, you know, good luck.
Yeah.
You know, there was a lot of thought in and around it. There was, you know, that they were hyper aware that of the journey, and you know, and how lonely it can get, and obviously how tough
Yeah.
it can get, especially in that space where everyone expects
Yeah. Yeah.
something for nothing. And So yeah, it's really great, and met some incredible people that I can call my friends now, and there's some really
Mm.
strong support from Red Bull since, which is great. And so yeah, we'll see where that can take us. Yeah,
It's exciting, mate. It's exciting. Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, I think to to get in that and to get the recognition from a brand like Red Bull, obviously, I mean, I can say, you're doing great things, and but then when you get those external things kind of coming in and almost just helps prove it, doesn't it? Almost, and you think actually, yeah, it's now coming alive, and or I'm starting to get the recognition that um, helps and supports you grow. I think so.
well, I
And
suppose you can identify with that. Along the
yeah,
way, you need reassurance.
oh yeah,
There are doubts, self-doubt,
yeah,
sometimes justified, sometimes not, sometimes just a monkey on your shoulder.
yeah,
But yeah, you might be an email or a
yeah,
conversation or a meeting
yeah,
that's that where you just think, oh, okay, like, yeah, it might be a false dawn. I've had a
yeah.
few of them, and so no one likes false hope because yeah,
Mm,
that's a different thing entirely. But
mm.
yeah, along the way, you need you need that reassurance and things
It's a
like
tough
that.
journey, yeah. And I mean, talking about that, so going back to the whole kind of well-being point, both you and I share big, what should we say, passion, interest. We're big fans of a chap called Wim Hof. We both know that. We
Yeah,
should, in what, 5 days' time, we should be on a course together, shouldn't we?
yeah,
Learning
yeah.
how to breathe in cold water, but unfortunately, we won't be doing that, which is a shame. Um, what kind of practices is there part of your daily routine? Are there things that you do on a weekly basis, monthly basis? How do you look after yourself in the role that you have? Because I'm really interested in this, when you take on and you step into the real unknown and you push, you come out of that harbor, if you want to use that term, you're out on their own there. How do you protect your well-being? Is it you know, running, for example? Is it a structured morning routine? What do you find helps you kind of maintain that well-being and the focus on what your ultimate goal is?
Mm. Yeah,
Big
I mean,
question again, mate.
well, yeah, no, it's a big question, but it's one that it's critical, that, and I found that across even before the YourTown journey kicked off.
Yeah,
Just what I was influenced by and what I was interested in, and just kind of
yeah,
that self development and that self awareness, which
yeah.
is right up there. Probably my top tip: self awareness is key.
Mm,
So anything that you can do to kind of heighten that, or just kind of
mm,
where you can learn and talk and share and
yeah,
write things down, just so you can kind of continually kind of work on your self-awareness and your approach and kind of your
yeah.
intentions, then absolutely. So that's the kind of everything that I do is a vehicle towards that, really. So
Right.
the daily practices, I'm really grateful. I'm just really, really, really grateful, especially in these.
Yeah.
I say especially. I don't mean it. This time is it's how can I explain this properly? I won't play with words. This time is no different than any other time for me.
Mm,
Yeah, obviously, the what's going on. I'm
yeah.
fully empathetic about, and I'm there to support people and places during these times, etc. But
Yeah.
so what I mean by it is no different to me. Is every day is an important day. With
Yeah.
how I kind of I look at things and my perception and how I feel
Mm,
about myself, and just my own internal realities and my daughters and my wife, etc. So,
mm,
so the daily practices, I'm just really grateful that during these times they've really kind of
mm,
supported me physically and mentally.
yeah.
I love running. I think that's pretty obvious. My
Yeah.
home office is heavily influenced
I was gonna
running
say, yeah.
material, and that is just born from 2011, from getting into it, and I've just
Yeah.
kept that going all these years, and
Yeah.
as it's pretty obvious, it's changed my life in many different ways. So yeah, running
Mm,
is I'm still very very passionate about it. I'm out
mm.
most days. I've never been interested in PBs or anything like that. I just run for my well-being. So
Yeah.
I love that about it as well. So there's no expectation and no pressure
Yeah.
in that area of my life. I've just heavily got into breath work.
Yeah.
I've flirted with breath work years ago when I was exploring different meditations and
Mm,
things like that. But I didn't. It didn't really spark anything in me to kind of continue with it. But since
right.
Christmas, I got involved in a few workshops with the cold water and the breath,
Yeah.
and it's really kept me engaged.
Yeah.
So I do breathing most days, if not every day.
Yeah.
Just come off a breath academy, which is really great. I
Right.
do gratitude lists. I do mindful runs. I I'll consume healthy, what I see as healthy content, just things that
Yeah.
kind of help me. I don't read too much. I don't consume information like that. So
Right.
I do try and practice, watching some good content,
Yeah.
either be it a podcast, or, other things that, I can take something away from. So
Yeah.
fitness, I do CrossFit stuff as well, and I walk a lot, walk my dog. So
Yeah.
I'm out most days, doing something.
That's key. Being outside, I think, is key. And the big term you use there is gratitude. I think being grateful for everything that we have, even in the current situation, the fact that we can still engage like this, we can still reach out to our friends, um, and that if we can look after our health, that is only going to help us and keep us driving forward as well. No, I love that. I love
Yeah,
that.
gratitude is key. There's always
Yeah.
something to be grateful for, and we've spoken very briefly about certain things that have happened in my life, and
Yeah.
even in the darkness of things that go on and are out of your
Yeah.
control, and illnesses and mental health and other bits and pieces,
Yeah.
I've always, which has kept me literally alive, without exaggerating, on a couple of occasions, is just that gratitude. There's
Mm.
always something to be grateful for, always.
Yeah.
So yeah, gratitude is it's up there with self awareness. There's
Yeah. I love that. I think
key
that's
things.
spot on. That's absolutely key. And I mean, talking about entrepreneurship, and especially, social entrepreneurship, being very, isolated and alone. And I can sympathize with that. I think from our side of entrepreneurship, even, working with a team, there are elements that you go out and you do on your own. So you do
Mhm.
feel isolated. Have you had any like mentors around you, or, what's the kind of best bit of advice you've maybe had externally? Is there anyone who's kind of guided you and helped you, push you in a certain direction at all?
Um, I've got a few cheerleaders, as as a good friend of mine would say, and it
Yeah.
taps into that reassurance again that we
Yeah.
kind of spoke about. So along the way, yes, absolutely, I've had
Mm.
people in and around me that are more experienced than me that
Mm.
have seen things come, things go, people come and
Yeah.
go, and and they've just kind of pushed me on when I've needed it. And
Mm.
if I was flogging a dead horse, they would be honest enough to suggest now's a good time to
Yeah.
stop, or whatever the scenario might have been. But they
Yeah.
haven't. They've kept me going. So yeah, certain individuals, family, friends, and kind of
Yeah.
people I've met on my working life journey. And just things that I listen to, really,
Mm.
maybe things that I identify with and relate to, keep me going.
Yeah.
Running's kept me going. Um, so yeah, from a mentor point of view, there's no kind of. I've got a few go-to people just to share certain things with or get some
Yeah.
advice on, but yeah, just a mixture of things really. Just follow the curiosity. I suppose one thing does spring to mind, which I'll bring up um, a few times if it makes sense. Is there
Mm.
was a guy called Seth Godin who I don't
Okay.
really listen to too much now, but early days of YourTown when we were opening up our street office,
Yeah.
our first all year round presence that I was after in the early days. Two things that one thing in particular he mentioned: if you launch on time, you've
Yeah.
launched too late. And as soon as I
Yeah.
heard that, I'd never heard anything like that before. I might have done, but it never kind of sat with me. And as soon as I
Yeah.
changed quite a lot at that period
Yeah.
for me, just my perception or whatever it was going on for me. I can't say with any certainty again, but I remember
Yeah.
listening to that and think, yeah, it's never the right time.
Mm.
Just kind of show up, which is one of my little mantras, and put
Yeah.
one foot in front of the other. And yeah, just if you've launched on time, you've launched too late. You're never going to have the finished article, and
Yeah.
especially the things that we were working on. It's very much
Mm.
jump in the middle, live, learn, talk, and
Yeah.
so yeah, Seth Godin. It was my early mentor, and
Yeah.
you don't even know it.
No, I love that. I think that's key because, from my side, I think as a brand with a product, you're constantly trying to make it. It's the same for yourself. You're trying to make it the best it possibly can be. It has to be perfect, and you think no, just get it out there. And especially for you, getting it out there and going is you're going to get people involved straight away.
Mm-hmm.
People are going to tell you what you need to refine. It's the same with us. People will tell you what you need to refine, and you just go. And I think actually involving the community that you're trying to be a presence in and get respect from in that journey, in that development, allows you to move forward quicker than if you were there just guessing what would be perfect on your own anyway.
Yeah.
So I really agree with that. And I think just going after it and just getting it done, and making sure that you're quick and you're agile is really, really key. Especially if you're going to grow and try and grow quickly. So
Yeah,
yeah, I
and
think
just
that's great.
always deliver. And
Yeah.
obviously there's pressure out there,
Hmm.
and there's a vulnerability about that because
Yeah.
you are literally putting yourself out there to kind of in lots of different ways. But I've always just felt like if you're going to say something, do it. Because
Yeah.
no matter if it doesn't work out completely how you envisioned it, or something
Mm.
went wrong along the way, for want of a better word, then people can tell whether your intentions are clear and honourable, and whether you gave it a good go, and whether you showed
Yeah.
that willingness. So yeah,
Yeah.
always deliver, because it's really important how people talk about you when you're not there. That's
Yeah.
something that I heard years ago,
Yeah.
I think, and it is important. You don't care too
Yeah.
much about what they say. So there's that element to it
Mm.
as well. But yeah, yeah, you need that credibility and that trust.
Yeah.
If you want to kind of continue to do things, because
Yeah.
it doesn't take long for
Yeah.
things to not quite go to plan.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I think that's great advice. I think anyone watching who is setting something up or trying to grow something, whether it be an initiative like yours or a product or anything like that, um, always deliver and make sure that you just stick to doing what you say you're going to set out to do. So
Hmm.
no, that's key advice. Right. I mean, we could talk for hours and hours about well-being, entrepreneurship, everything, but I know both of us have busy schedules. So I want to dive into the kind of final, what we call like our three questions right at the very end. Now, I don't know if you've seen these questions yet or not.
I might have glanced over them, but I can't remember.
That's fine. It's not a test. Don't worry about it. I like just
Right.
knowing whether I'm shooting off the bat or someone's had like a script passed in front of them.
Oh,
So,
no, definitely none of that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, so you're allowed to answer with a maximum of one sentence, right?
Hmm.
Okay, try and keep it to one sentence unless it is something that you're going to try and expand on and go really big on. So the first question is, what has been your biggest failure?
Biggest failure, biggest failure. What has been my biggest failure? Um, I'm not a big fan of that, if I'm honest. I don't want to be clever, but I've lots of things haven't gone to plan.
Yeah,
Again, I don't want to play with words, um, but it's really important, and that's just my own kind of mindset and how you
yeah,
attach certain words to certain things.
yeah,
So I wouldn't say I failed, but I suppose everywhere leads somewhere,
yeah,
and every lesson learned has kind of gone into what you see today, which
yeah,
is pretty decent. So hopefully that answers
yeah.
your question without skirting around it.
You are the first person who's ever, and I use that term deliberately, just to, I've been waiting for someone who's going to come back and say exactly that
Oh,
and
really? All right, tough.
ping out that failure word, because um, you don't fail.
Yeah,
You achieve what you set out to do, or you learn. You have a great lesson in that, and that is often more valuable than that failure or even that winning for that
yeah.
matter.
Listen,
So
perception's everything.
yeah,
And if you would have told me that what we would have done at the start is what
mm,
what we've done so far, I would have bit your hand off. It's
yeah,
that kind of thing around what's
yeah,
success. What's
yeah,
failure, what's success. Just keep on going. Just keep on broadening your curiosity, and
yeah,
yeah, just don't attach too many thoughts or feelings to any one word, because it'll ruin
mm.
you. It'll kick kick you down. I was going to
Yeah,
say.
exactly. No, I think that's a great. Well, you've kind of thrown the second question then a little askew, because the next question was going to be, what's been your biggest success? But
Well, again, I'm going to be clever with words. Yeah, listen, my biggest success, I suppose, is just my willingness to
mm,
keep on going. You know,
yeah,
um, and that's it. I'm just willing to show up and
yeah,
to step in the middle of that ring, whatever you want to call it, or that
yeah,
arena. There's that kind
yeah,
of famous quote or reading about stepping into the arena, knowing that you're going to get beat up, thrown up, and all kinds of stuff. But
yeah,
that's where it is.
yeah,
So yeah, my willingness to push on.
yeah. And this is why we could spend so much time chatting about this, because again, I think that's been the best answer we've had in terms of as an entrepreneur going through things, whether it be a social entrepreneur or whether you're in a product or whatever you're doing, and you're trying to make an impact. Actually, and people ask me this question all the time. What's been your biggest success? And I think still being here
Hmm.
is an underrated success. It
Yeah,
really is.
yeah.
In this world, especially, you look at it now and you think, actually, just still being here and still, having the energy, having the, the mental toughness, and also the well-being to balance that
Hmm.
and still carry on going.
Hmm.
That is a huge achievement that I think is completely overlooked,
Massive.
especially in this space.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's something that I completely agree with you on. My third and final question is, what is one piece of advice or piece of wisdom that you would like everyone to know?
One bit of wisdom advice, just to uh, just to follow your curiosity. You know,
Yeah.
that's kind of what I do. Whether I mean this morning, for example, so I talking to Red Bull, there was this amazing lady that facilitated this incredible workshop there.
Mm,
We kept in touch. We had a call earlier. I just love her energy and some of the feedback she gives me. She mentioned some guy
yeah.
who maybe I should look up. He wrote a book. Some guy in a concentration camp, or don't know the ins and outs of it, like I said. But just through that, I've
Yeah.
googled it. I've ordered the book. It comes
Yeah.
tomorrow. Now I've got a name that I'm going to kind of explore.
Yeah.
She feels it's going to bring value to my life, and just things of that nature.
Yeah.
Just follow. Just whatever
Yeah.
your hobby is, whatever your interests are, just let that be the
Mm,
hook, and then
yeah.
just expand your mind within that space, and just
Yeah.
a person, a place, a thing. Google it. That then leads you onto a podcast. That podcast will then mention somebody else, and that might be
Mm,
inquisitive. Who are they? And then all of a sudden, it's this rabbit hole.
yeah.
And curiosity is a great thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd just say follow your curiosity. Yeah.
Brilliant advice. Brilliant advice. Well, Mark, thank you very much, mate. I appreciate that. We could talk for hours and hours on end. Where can people find your town? I'm not saying we have millions and millions of views, but if people want to get involved, in their town, say for example, they feel that their town would be absolutely perfect, to host the Your Town event. How can they how can they reach out to you? How can they find those resources as well?
So the resources will be live soon. I'm actually working on it now, but I mean, there's loads of content and information on our website about how they can get involved and find out more. So it's yourtown.community
Yeah.
is the website, and then we've got YourTown Active Instagram, and then
Yeah.
YourTown on Twitter and YourTown on Facebook. I think it's YourTown on Facebook. You'll find us.
You'll be there.
I think it's YourTown CIC or your something. Just
Yeah.
Google YourTown, yeah, and you'll find us. Yeah,
We'll find you on there somewhere.
yeah,
No, well, Mark, look, thank you. It's been absolutely fantastic, mate, and I'm sure we'll catch up properly soon after this. But yeah, make sure you stay healthy and what have you. And for everyone watching, please make sure if you've enjoyed this, go head over to Your Town on Instagram, Facebook, wherever. Go and check out the resources that they have. And yeah, please make sure you like and subscribe, share this to everyone who you think it may bring value to. So yeah, thank you very much, Mark, and
thank you very much.
we'll chat again soon, mate.
Yeah, take it easy.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
mate.